This is the Transforming Anxiety podcast with Kelly Hanlon McCormick, and today is episode number 213, Victim Mentality versus Victim. Welcome to Transforming Anxiety. I'm your host, Kelly McCormick. I'm a mom to 2 boys, a wife, friend, daughter, and sister, and I'm a certified life coach, yoga teacher, and soon-to-be mindfulness meditation teacher. I'm no stranger to anxiety, and I'm here to teach you how to manage your mind and your emotions so that you too can transform anxiety into calm, peace, and whatever you want for your life. I'm so glad you're here. Hey there. Welcome in today. I missed you last week. I got a totally nasty virus and I literally couldn't talk. So calls and podcasts and teaching became very tricky last week, but I'm back. Sorry if I wind up coughing at you. I'm feeling so much better. It was just like this little last bit of winter ick that I apparently had to get out of my system because now it's really feeling like spring. Right? The light is amazing. The bird song and the buds, it's all just feeling pretty good. You know, I hardly ever miss a week. So thank you for being patient with me last week. I missed you. And let's just get back to it. Yeah? All right. Today we're going to talk about victim mentality versus victim. Although we're going to start with victim first and then go to victim mentality. So maybe I titled this one backwards. I don't know. Either way, here we go. We're going to spend most of our time on victim mentality today. So I want to start by acknowledging victims first and really defining this, recognizing that this is a real thing. And it's not what we're talking about when we get into the victim mentality piece of the conversation today. So Chanel Miller, she wrote this in her book, which is called Know My Name. It's her memoir about being sexually assaulted by Brock Turner. She said, "I am a victim. I have no qualms with this word, only with the idea that it is all that I am." If you haven't read her book yet, I highly, highly recommend it. But I wanted to start here with the simple but vital acknowledgement that being the victim of a crime, of random violence, of disease, of an accident, of a natural disaster, or some other event or action is a very real thing. Unfortunately, this happens every day all over the world in both individual and personal ways and in larger and much more global ways, right? Everything else that we're going to talk about today, it is not to diminish or take away or dismiss or trivialize any of that. That is real. That is traumatic and damaging and difficult. That is not a matter of cleaning up your mind and thinking different thoughts about it. That isn't about stories and opinions and ideas. It's not a narrative. It's factual. And I want to really make this point before we get into victim mentality. Because victim mentality is a completely different thing. It's a totally separate animal. I do really love what Chanel Miller says in her book and this deep acknowledgement of the fact that she is a victim, right? She was sexually assaulted. That happened. She's a victim of a deeply personal and heinous crime. And she is so much more than that. She doesn't have a victim mentality about it. She's a victim without a victim mentality, in fact. And that distinction is key. Although we're going to talk about much more than crime and violence today. In fact, we're going to be done talking about crime and violence, honestly, regarding victim mentality. Because, to be honest, pretty much across the board, I've never actually personally talked with anybody who has been the actual victim of a crime who is bringing a victim mentality to it that we've had to look at and work on. Most of the time when I see people stuck in a victim mentality, it's because of everyday, regular, ordinary, just hour by hour work, family, personal, health, neighbor, friend stuff, right? They're not victims, not in the literal sense, right? No crime has been waged against them. No natural disaster or diagnosis has befallen them. Okay, in her book, Radical Awakening, Dr. Shefali wrote this. She said, "There is no shame in being a victim of a predator. It is not your fault if this happens, but it doesn't make you victimized for life." So in this section of the book, she's talking about her personal experience growing up in a culture that really coveted her eye color, her skin tone, and it only got worse as her body transformed from that of a little girl to a grown woman. She became quite the target for male attention, for male advances. And she goes on to say in that same section, victimhood is a mindset. Being a victim of predators like I was when young is a real thing. It isn't conjured up or imagined. But having worked through my past, I no longer live in a victimized consciousness. There is a big difference between being a victim of a crime, as many of us are, and living in victimized consciousness. We need to be aware of the difference. Okay, so this is what I want to talk about today. The difference and what happens when you start cultivating and living in a victimized consciousness or victim mentality. And I want you to really try this on. We all do this sometimes. Now, you may know someone who lives in this kind of mentality most of the time. That may seem really obvious to you, and you may feel separate or different from that because you can see it and you have perspective on them. But I want you to really consider that you probably fall into this trap sometimes. We all do. And just use what we're talking about today to get self-aware, to catch yourself so that you can help yourself out of this trap if you start getting sucked in. Because there's absolutely no upside to a victim mentality. There is nothing good that comes from it. It's not useful. It's not helpful. It doesn't do anything except generate feelings of ick, right? Anxiety, overwhelm, despair, hopelessness even. This is no way to live. This is no way to think and no way to feel. So this is a place to wake up. This is a place to catch yourself. Yeah? Now, I know. Again, sometimes it's tempting to think that's not me, right? I used to think that way about things like people pleasing and perfectionism and being a control freak, right? But believe me, we are all of these things, at least in part, at least sometimes, right? So again, I just want you to try this on. I just want you to see where you can fall into this, where you can tend this way. All right. All right, Kendrick Lamar, the rapper, he said this. "My mom always told me, how long you gonna play the victim? I can say I'm mad and hate everything, but nothing really changes until I change myself." Nothing really changes until I change myself. Yes, this is what a victim mentality will do. It'll mean that you stay stuck and that you don't create change in your life because you don't see that you need to change yourself. That change is yours for the taking. That your future is up for grabs. That you need to create what you want if you want to have it, if you want to live it. All right, some examples of victim mentality behaviors. You ready? One is a tendency to blame other people for things and absolving yourself of responsibility or refusing to acknowledge your contributions to a conversation or to a situation. So when you do this consistently, when you're constantly looking to blame someone else, you actually let go of any power you have. You turn any sense of control over to the external world. You're at the mercy of everything and everyone around you. Now, I want to remind you that victim mentality is just that. It's a mentality. It doesn't mean you don't have power or control. It just means that you're thinking and complaining about feeling disempowered and out of control, and you're refusing to pick up the power and control you do have. Conversations are not happening to you. People are not living their lives at you. Okay? But to break out of the sense that you're just along for the ride, you have to be willing to take responsibility for yourself, for your words, for your actions, for your contributions. This isn't a blame game. This is a responsibility taking. All right? Okay, similarly, another victim mentality behavior is not taking responsibility for your life. So if you've ever said, or if you've ever heard anyone say, this is how things always go for me, right? Or I should have figured it wasn't going to work out. Like anything in that family of thinking, you're veering into victim mentality land. It's as if life is happening to you instead of recognizing that you are co-creating your experiences, your dreams, your life with the external world. Now listen, yes, sure, you're not 100% in charge of everything, right? I mean, look at COVID. But what you do when you're faced with something like a global pandemic or a job change or a family struggle or a health challenge, what you do from there is up to you. Yes. How you approach whatever it is you're approaching is 100% your responsibility. That approach is not happening to you. It's generated by you. And we forget that little nugget. We hand it all over and we just say, well, what can you do? You must take responsibility for your life. It doesn't mean you're in complete control. That's a whole other topic for another day. We don't have full control, no. But you can control how you approach what's happening around you. And that is key. All right, another one is when you overreact or when you react to small things in big ways. Now, this is a sneakier way of having a victim mentality, but it smacks of a lack of resilience, okay? Of not being able to tolerate discomfort. So when you're doing your work, and by that, I mean you're consistently taking a look at how you're thinking. You're consistently taking a look at and processing how you're feeling. You're regularly practicing things like self-compassion and self-awareness. You're probably utilizing practices and teachings like mindfulness, meditation, yoga. When you're doing that kind of work regularly, you gain a certain amount of resilience to the reality of life. You recognize that things are not all about you. You realize that emotions, situations, circumstances, they are not permanent fixtures forever and ever. And you have a certain amount of acceptance for the imperfection of life. Like these are just things that naturally arise when you do this kind of work. And if you notice that you have a tendency to fall apart when things don't go your way, or if you're holding on too tightly to the hope that the people around you are going to cooperate and like finally get it together already, they're just going to fall in line and get it. Or if you're used to moving through your day rigidly attached to a certain schedule or a certain way of being, and you freak out or melt down when things go sideways, then this may be a sign that a lack of resilience and tolerance for this thing called life means that you lean towards that woe is me victim mentality. Now, we all know people who can really roll with the punches, right? Whatever comes their way, they have the capacity to take a deep breath and pivot and just figure it out, right? I want to tell you, I want to show you, it's not because those people are extra calm and cool. It's not because they don't care or they don't have opinions about how things should go. It's not that. It's because they don't live their lives believing that they're victims of what goes on around them. They know that they're in the role of co-creating with the external world. That people and things and events and situations are gonna arise, and that they have a responsibility, they have a choice to step up and say, okay, here's what we're gonna do now. Like we just talked about, these people are people who are absolutely taking responsibility for their lives. Can you see it? All right, another one is believing that the people around you have bad intentions or are out to get you. Right? People who are locked in a victim mentality can bring a belief that the other drivers on the road, the other parents on the school field trip, the other coworkers in a meeting, the other extended family members, they're all intentionally and with ill will out to get them. It's kind of like this weird sort of Truman Show complex, if you've seen that movie, where you center yourself in the story of like everything and you believe that everyone's watching you and like tuning their words and actions to you. When you can really recognize and when you can fully believe, like in your bone marrow, that pretty much everyone is just doing the best they can, really they're just trying to get through the day, then you can let go of the idea that people are out to get you. They really aren't. Like, even the mean girls, even the awful bosses, even your kids, they're pretty much never looking to get you. They're just doing their best, honestly. And sometimes, I know, sometimes someone's best sucks. But just because their best is no good, it doesn't mean you are a victim of their actions. It means their words or actions are happening in the world, and you are in the world, and those two things are coexisting. They don't have to have anything to do with one another, okay? All right, one more. What if you believe everyone else has it better and easier, and so you might as well just give up because what's the point? Right? This is classic victim mentality behavior. And the real kicker with this one is you are the only one that suffers when you bring this mentality to something. When you throw in the towel because you can't run as fast as someone else, or you don't apply because you think someone else is going to get the job, or you quit because you're sure they don't like you anyway, then you suffer. You're the one who misses the race. You're the one who misses a chance at a job you want. You're the one who leaves a situation or a party or a group because you're telling yourself a story about how everyone else has it better and easier, so there's no use in showing up in the first place. What? This is bananas. Don't do this. Don't limit yourself because you are wallowing in this kind of nonsense. There is absolutely no upside to this brand of thinking. It's pure toxicity. Don't do it. All right. So, victim mentality, different from being a victim, right? Different than that actual fact. This is a mindset. This is an approach to life, to work, to other people, to family, to parenting, to health, to conversations, to all of it. And this kind of mentality can zap you of your ambition and your drive and your ability to make solid decisions and to create what you want for yourself. Because you're always consistently, forever, living at the mercy of the external world if you're in victim mentality. You're always looking out there to see what's going to go wrong instead of looking in here to see what you can make of the circumstances that you've been handed. Now, again, we all do this. Some more than others, for sure. But this is an episode for all of us. We can all find places where we fall prey to our own mind's nonsense this way. So stay aware, stay compassionate, and just be mindful. Be willing to call this what it is. This is a victim consciousness, a victim mentality, a victim mindset. And stop it. Okay? All right. My friend, I will see you at the same time, same place. It's so good to be back with you. I missed you. But I'll be back again next week for more Transforming Anxiety. Please, please don't forget to rate and review the show. Be sure you're subscribed wherever you're listening so that you never miss a show. And I will see you again soon. And until then, please take care. Do you have someone to help you with your stress, anxiety, worry, and overwhelm? If not, I would love to be your coach. The Fierce Calm Project is my virtual coaching program where we get to go in on topics like this one, and I can help you apply these lessons to your life so that you're creating your own transformation. We do live coaching calls, guided meditations, on-demand yoga classes. We hold book club where we read books your neighborhood book club won't, and there's lots of bonus content that I've created just for you. When you're ready to take what you're learning on the podcast to a whole other level, then come on over and check out the Fierce Calm Project at kellyhanlonmccormick.com/Fierce Calm Project.